What's going on, but Fumble?
Lee, so glad to be talking to you, getting excited about this Super Bowl week to come, all the betting lines, all the action. Want to make sure all of our listeners are going to our website, butfumblesports.com, and signing up for that free newsletter that comes out Friday morning with all of our game notes, our game picks, and everything else. So appreciate Bleece joining us. And of course, as usual, we have Adam, that's at Spotter AJ, that'll be joining us. We're going to go through everything around this NFL Super Bowl, whether it's the storylines, the game picks, total plays, game notes, gambling trends, everything everyone needs to cash in on this Super Bowl Sunday. First, let's get to everyone. Bleece, how's your night going? How excited are you for this matchup between the Eagles and the Chiefs?
Yeah, pretty excited about it. I do like the Eagles. I do think they are gonna pounce on the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are a little too banged up for my liking. But yeah, I'm excited for the Eagles. I think they are the best team throughout. I just wish the Chiefs were a little healthier. But yeah, I
I
really
agree
like the
with you.
Eagles.
It's unfortunate that at this point in the year we're not getting the Chiefs' wide receiving core at full strength. Certainly would make a bit of a difference. The Eagles, by the way, the number one pass defense during the regular season, so it'll test Patrick Mahomes that much more. Of course, Adam, who's done a great job throughout the season, giving great analysis. That's at Spotter AJ for those who follow on Twitter. Adam, how are you doing tonight?
Real good, my friend. It feels like it's been forever since we've gotten together, and it feels like forever since the championship games. It's crazy how 1 week off of football will make you kind of wander out to the wilderness. But no, I agree with Bleece. I think this is an interesting game. I hate that Kansas City's got to deal with all these injuries, especially with Mahomes and the wide receiving core here. But we'll chat through it here in the next hour or so, and dissect it all. But yeah, it's all good, man. Ready for I guess to close out another season in the NFL. But hopefully it'll be a pretty good Super Bowl game this Sunday.
Adam, you couldn't have said it better in that those 2 weeks all of a sudden feel like a month. We've become so accustomed to great football action week in, week out during the regular season. Three, sometimes four of our weekdays are dominated by football. And now we get to this point in the year and there's just one Sunday and we have to wait 14 days for it. But fortunately, Sunday is closing in upon us. And for those out there where I see the betting lines, the Eagles are a 1.5 point favorite. That line hasn't moved over the last week. Obviously, when that line first came out after the conference championship games, the Chiefs were originally favored by a point, 2 points in some places. That immediately swung to the Eagles and has sat firmly at 1.5 points ever since. The total is currently set at 51 points. We will go through gambling trends like we always do, as well as some game notes, and we'll also get to some fun topics around the NFL. But we are going to start right here at the Super Bowl. Some gambling trends before we get analysis from everyone. The Chiefs are 3-8-1 against the spread in their last 12 games overall, while the Eagles are 7-2 against the spread versus a team with a winning record. The Chiefs are also 1-5 against the spread versus a team with a winning record, and the Eagles are 4-0 against the spread in their last four games after accumulating less than 150 yards of passing in their previous game. Obviously, their most recent game against the 49ers 2 weeks ago, they didn't need to rely on the passing game too much. It was a bit of a blowout. As for the total, some trends for you. The over is 4-1 in the last five meetings between the Chiefs and the Eagles. However, the under is 5-1 in the Chiefs' last six games versus a team with a winning record, and the under is 4-0 in the Eagles' last four games overall. Adam, let's start right away. What are some of the positions you look to be pivotal in this game? Where are you looking for tipping points where teams have an advantage? Before we get to your pick, what are some of the players? What are some of the positions you have your eye on for this Super Bowl?
Well, I think offensive line for Philadelphia has been playing really well. They're finally somewhat healthy back again here now, and giving Hurts a lot of time to not only throw the football but also run blocking for him. But that Kansas City defensive line is very stout too with Chris Jones and the boys. In fact, interesting stat: Philadelphia's defensive line and Kansas City defensive line, they are number 1 and 2 in the NFL in sacks per game. Philly's at 4.1 and Kansas City's at 3.3. So they can put pressure on the quarterback, but I really do like the way Philadelphia The offensive line's been playing. Another side is we talked about it, what Blease mentioned, the wide receiving core for Kansas City. How healthy is it going to be? You have Skylar Moore out there, Valdez Scantling. I know very well about him and his time in Green Bay. Injuries on that side of the ball. So Hartman's going to be out. They did activate Edwards-Helaire, so that could, go to Mahomes in the screen game, as he's really good with the screen game. But the wide receiver core of Kansas City, the biggest question mark for me and the biggest strengths for me is the offensive line for Philadelphia and how well they've played over these playoffs. Now, granted, Philadelphia's kind of rolled here over the Giants and San Fran. They really haven't been tested much, where Kansas City, on the other side of the coin, has had a hard-fought game against Jacksonville and, of course, a hard-fought game against Cincinnati. But, to answer your question again there, why biggest strength to me is offensive line Philadelphia, and the biggest weakness or question mark for me will be Kansas City's wide receiving core.
I completely agree with you. And one of the things I take away from the last 2 weeks of rest is that Lane Johnson, I know he's been dealing with, I believe, a torn groin, the pain of that play in, play out, but giving him some time to recover. The Eagles' offensive line is the personality of this team, whether it's Lane Johnson or Jason Kelce. And you can tell on how successful they are at running the football, not just with their running backs, but also with Jalen Hurts. This offensive line sets the tone. I can't wait to see the matchup between Jason Kelce and Chris Jones. That, to me, is going to be one of the star one-on-one matchups of this game. But another position that I have my eye on, obviously, is how can you take away Travis Kelce? How are the Eagles going to try to apply their safeties or their linebackers? We know Hassan Reddick is going to be blitzing often from the edge. That's also going to be often the same side Travis Kelce's either coming from, set up close to the line, or set up in kind of that slot position. But do you give extra safety help? You know he's going to be targeted anywhere from 8 to maybe 12, even 14 times in this game. So you have to expect there's going to be some kind of underplay coverage. I wonder if they want to even drop the defensive end back and maybe take away some of those short 5-yard passes, try to confuse Patrick Mahomes. But because of that, I also wonder if that's going to open up opportunities in the running game. I talk about Travis Kelce, how the Eagles are going to try and take away him. On the other side, how can the Chiefs take advantage of the bad run defense of the Eagles? And it's not atrocious, but they're so good against the pass. They have to give up yards in some place, and it's against the run. Isaiah Pacheco is someone I definitely have my eye on. We'll get to prop bets a little bit later in the show, but I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to play a very important role in this game. And if there's any warning that I would have, I want to make sure that Andy Reid does not get pass happy with Patrick Mahomes. He needs to be balanced. I feel like when Andy Reid gets in big games, sometimes he relies on his quarterback a little bit too much. I haven't seen that over the last 2 games. I hope it continues in this one. Remain balanced, especially because Mahomes isn't as dynamic with his legs because of that high ankle sprain. Use Pacheco, use McKinnon. I heard they have Edwards-Helaire is going to be active for this game. They brought him back off the IR and put McCole Hardman on the IR with a pelvic injury. So I think there are opportunities for the Chiefs to use different running backs, Pacheco being the number one opportunity, and using them against a run defense for the Eagles that can be exploited at times. Blease, given how you like to watch the game, what are some matchups or certain players that you have your eye on?
Yeah, I agree with you on the run game. I think they're going to have to establish the run because I just don't see them passing. Like, I feel like their defensive line is so much better than Bengals, and Bengals were getting after him. And I think they're going to look at that playbook. And yeah, his ankle is going to be a little healthy, but how much are they going to really want to run him? I just don't see it. Like maybe, if they have to in the fourth quarter, like they did against the Bengals, but I don't see it. So I do like Pacheco in this game because I think they're going to really have to dink and dunk a lot to him because that pass rush is going to get through. I just didn't like what I was seeing out of that offensive line. And he can tear you up from the pocket. You can't count him out of his ability to make plays happen. But yeah, how they're gonna cover Travis Kelce. I do think he's gonna have a big game. But yeah, the wide receiving core, MVS stepped up though. MVS really did step up and really impressed in that championship game. So can he do that again now that that tape is there for the Eagles to see. I don't know. They're gonna have to scheme up some stuff.
It's a great point, and that's MVS torching Eli Apple, who is a high risk, high reward kind of player. He's going after interceptions, but he often gets burned on deeper passes. The Eagles aren't going to play that kind of way. They're going to be physical at the line of scrimmage, but they're very disciplined. When they give up big plays, which is possible, it really is because of you're designing such a play that's smart enough to draw in their safeties. Maybe you can do that playing MVS off of Kelsey, try and draw that high safety in over Kelsey over the top and open up MVS. I think that's one way you can do it. But to me, it has to be winning at the line of scrimmage. And part of that isn't just the offensive line against the defensive line of the Eagles. Again, it's the running game. It's a place where I think the Chiefs need to rely heavily. A couple of notes for you. These kind of fall into both gambling trends as well as game notes, but things that stand out. As an underdog in his career, Patrick Mahomes is 6-3 straight up and 7-1-1 against the spread. Obviously an underdog in this game. The Super Bowl winner, the eventual Super Bowl winner is 47-7-2 against the spread all time. So more often than not, a team that wins covers the spread. However, the favorite in the Super Bowl is just 27-2. So as even as it could possibly be against the spread. A couple of interesting notes about the coaches. The coach with more Super Bowl experience has actually lost five of the last 12 games. So Andy Reid having more experience doesn't necessarily equate to a greater record. Kansas City is 5-11-1 against the spread on the season. Eagles 6-10-1 against the spread in the regular season. So both of these teams haven't been great at covering the spread. As I mentioned earlier, where I see it, the Eagles are a 1.5 favorite. We'll get into storylines now, talk a little bit more about these games. Again, we'll get to our picks in a little bit. But if you want to get all of our picks for the Super Bowl, whether it's game picks, total plays, player prop bets, everything you need to cash in on NFL Sunday, make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com, sign up for the free newsletter. That newsletter comes out Friday morning, and it'll have all of our picks all in one place, as well as all of our gambling trends and game notes. So whether you agree with our picks or want to disagree, it's all in one place. Before we move on to some of the storylines in this one, we'll get to picks in a little bit. Adam, I see you want to jump in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, real quick, just to tag on to your trends there. I did see another thing about coaching in the Super Bowl. In 12 years of the Super Bowl, with a coach with experience versus non-experience, the coach with experience is 3-8-1 against the spread and 7-5 straight up. So just another little trend there to tag on to what you just had there.
Yeah, I actually think I butchered that stat, and I think you just saved me on it. So I appreciate that, Adam. I think that came out wrong. I had it written right in my notes, but I think you just saved me and corrected me on that. So again, to underline, the experienced head coach doesn't necessarily equate to success later on. Looking at some of the Super Bowl storylines that I want to break down with Adam and Blease, this being the Andy Reid Super Bowl and what kind of factor that could play. Obviously, Andy Reid spent a number of years in Philadelphia, took his team to 4 consecutive NFC championship games and a Super Bowl that he eventually lost to the New England Patriots in 2004. But his time with Philly ultimately ran out. He was fired, moved on to Kansas City, has built a powerhouse there, especially with Patrick Mahomes over the last few years. Adam, do you think Andy Reid's presence in this game gives any kind of advantage? I know it's something that will be hyped up throughout the week, but do you think when the game actually kicks off that you mentioned the stats just a moment ago, experienced head coaches don't necessarily have an advantage. Do you think Andy Reid necessarily has an advantage going up against a former franchise that he's coached for?
I actually think Andy Reid probably has more pressure on him in this game than Nick Sirianni does. They've been experienced. This is the 5th straight year now Kansas City's been to the AFC Championship game. This is the 3rd time in a Super Bowl, 2-2 before with 1 Super Bowl win. I think they have the more pressure on them. They're the more experienced team. They're the ones coming in, obviously, with injuries and stuff aside. I think they're the ones with the pressure on them. Sirianni's coming in with this game with a hot football team. You know, they can play loose. They can play fast. I think he has read some articles this week about he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder that he wasn't retained when Andy Reid was brought into Kansas City and he had to move on and come back full circle here now with the head coaching position in Philadelphia. But yeah, I think there's a lot of angles here to Andy Reid against his old franchise, but I don't think that really has much to do with it. He's been cemented in Kansas City for quite a while now. But I do think that the pressure is on Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, and Sirianni and the Eagles can come in this game and play a little bit looser, to the Super Bowl game and maybe take a little bit more chances where Andy Reid's going to have more of a focus on him because he is the experienced coach. He's been to the AFC Championship game the last 5 years and has won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. So to me, I think Andy Reid and the Chiefs have a little more pressure on them than Philadelphia Eagles with Sirianni and his coaching staff.
It's so interesting to me because I find that Nick Sirianni is one of the biggest tools in the NFL. He often is posing for the camera. He gives unbelievable comments in his lead up press conferences in the week, in his post game press conferences, and yet that story about him not being retained. Someone else mentioned that to me. I don't know why that's considered a big deal. That's very common in the NFL. A new coach doesn't want to retain talent of a previous administration. It doesn't surprise me. I don't know why it would be such a tipping point, a point of advantage. I do understand that Nick Sirianni, he showed his team 8 Mile before one of the playoff games. It kind of speaks to who he is. He's trying to find any edge possible, and whether that's effective or dorky or toolish at times, it's just his style. I don't think this is a game in which the advantage when it comes to head coaches is going to be on the Eagles' side. I think the roster, the Eagles have the advantage. But I agree with your point, Adam, exactly 100%. The person who has the most pressure on them in this Super Bowl is Andy Reid. And what stands out to me is historically, Andy Reid has not succeeded in big games. There are a lot of playoff games he's won, but there are a number of do or die playoff games, obviously, that he has fallen short. NFC championship games, Super Bowls. There was a question a few years ago whether Andy Reid would go down as kind of the Dan Marino of head coaches, someone who had this illustrious career but could never win the big one. He finally broke through with Patrick Mahomes a few years ago. But I still have my doubts about whether Andy Reid is still a good big game head coach. It's still to be determined in my mind. Obviously, when you have the better quarterback, you're supposed to win. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in this game. Obviously, when he's 100%, we'll see how effective he is with that ankle. But to me, Andy Reid still has something to prove. Now, you get 2 Super Bowl wins. It vaults you into a different conversation. He's still going to be in the Hall of Fame no matter what. But it changes the narrative, and I think he needs that. And going up against the Eagles would be a perfect bookend to his career. I'm not saying he's going to retire anytime soon, but it certainly just completes the narrative. He vaults himself into this superstar elevated status and does it against his former franchise. Another major storyline for this one is a fun one. Obviously has been brought up ad nauseum by all of the sports media outlets throughout the last 2 weeks, and that is the Kelce Bowl. Travis Kelce versus Jason Kelce. Their mom has been an unbelievable interview, has been a great sport as she's been on everything from Good Morning America to Michael Irvin on the NFL Network, which was a riot to see that interview. But Blease, as a casual fan, is this something that's already kind of jumped the shark for you? Like, have you had enough of the Kelce Bowl, or are you actually interested in NFL history? 2 brothers playing against each other in the Super Bowl for the first time ever. Is it something that actually captures your interest, or is it something in which you're like, yeah, that's great, we can move on to the next storyline?
Yeah, what I was interested in is, can she, like, with the rules, flip the coin? I know that there was talk about her like flipping the coin, and I was just wondering, like, do the rules allow that for someone to flip the coin, and could she do that? I think that would be pretty cool if she
Well,
could flip
first of
the
all,
coin.
that is awesome. I hadn't heard that. That's so cool that you bring that up, that would had been mentioned. Usually there is some kind of designated person who flips the coin. You think back to years past, George H.W. Bush, when he was still alive, flipped the coin at one Super Bowl. So usually it's designated for some kind of noteworthy person. If there hasn't been someone who's been given that designation yet, if it was just going to be the head referee, I feel like that would be an awesome opportunity for, I believe it's Donna Kelce, to get her moment of fame. I think that's a great call, Blease. But again, to the question, beyond that, does the storyline hold interest for you? Is it something that you're going to be watching, say, after the game ends? Do you want to see that Kelce hug at the end of the game, no matter who wins?
Yeah, I mean, they have the podcast. I think they're brothers at the end of the day. I think it would be a bigger storyline if they were on the field at the same time. Like if you had like a Stephon Diggs and Trayvon Diggs kind of situation where you could possibly be covering your brother, but the fact that they're both on offense and they won't be on the field at the same time doesn't hold as much weight for me. I mean, it's a cool storyline, I guess, but yeah, I think the shark has jumped on that for me. But if they were on the field at the same time, I think that would be way more impactful for me.
It's a great call. I completely agree with you on that. One last storyline, and then we'll get to our game picks around here. But before we do, I definitely want to make note of what is probably the most important storyline from the Super Bowl, and that's the fact that two African American quarterbacks will be the starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. And if you don't think that's significant, just go through the history of the NFL and for how long African Americans literally weren't given the opportunity to try out for the position, being told they weren't smart enough for the position, that they were supposed to play running back, wide receiver. That was what their skill set was fitted to. Now you see maybe the best quarterback of the modern era. Obviously, Tom Brady is the GOAT, but Patrick Mahomes is redefining the position. Jalen Hurts went from national champion to doubted to transfer to Heisman candidate, and now starting in the Super Bowl. Two great stories, two young men who represent their universities, their families, their teams incredibly well, and represent this moment in history really well. I think back to the Super Bowl between the Colts and the Bears, how important it was to have Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith representing African-American head coaches. We see the fallout over the last few years of what that's meant and how little progress has been made in the NFL. I'm happy to say the same thing won't occur when it comes to the quarterback position in the NFL, because the age of the classic white guy quarterback being the starting quarterback for all 32 teams, that is over, dead, and gone, and a good thing. So happy to note that is one of the major storylines of the Super Bowl, because Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce, those are all fine and dandy, but making some history for the right reasons, that's a great thing for the NFL. Now, let's get into our picks for this Super Bowl. I know I mentioned those gambling trends a moment ago. One more time, the Eagles right now are a 1.5 favorite. The over-under is set at 51 points. If you want to get all of our picks all in one place, make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com, and sign up for that free newsletter. It'll come out Friday morning with all of our notes, trends, all of our picks all in one place. That said, Adam, how are you picking this Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles?
So this year in the playoffs has been really strange for me. Usually I have a team and I ride them, and I usually take them through the Super Bowl, and I have a pretty clear-cut vision of what I want to do. And this year has been completely opposite. I've been on the wrong side of Philadelphia. I've been on the wrong side of a couple teams, San Francisco. I've been doing really well with the player props, but this Super Bowl is really confusing to me because it opens up, as you mentioned, Kansas City favored, swung all the way to 2.5 Philly, now it's back to 1.5. And I've sat tight on this. I have a lean to Philly, mostly because their offensive line, like we talked about, has played really well. Their pass defense is number one in the league, and they're so extremely hard to move the football on. And to your point, I think they will stop Kelce. I think they're going to force Mahomes to throw the football outside to Tony and ABS. And, with Edwards-Helaire back, that's a gain for Kansas City. But I don't think Mahomes will be 100%. But does that matter? I mean, he wasn't 100% against Cincinnati, and he gutted that one out. Like you mentioned before, he's just absolutely incredible talent. Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback position. Philadelphia's pretty much rolled through these playoffs. Really haven't been tested. They rolled through the Giants and they rolled through San Fran. On the other side of the coin, we talked about it. Kansas City has a lot of wide receiver injuries. They are 18th against the pass, and they really have a lack of running game. So, Kansas City isn't shy about dropping back and throwing the ball 50 times in this game, but because of the injuries of the wide receivers and the injury to Mahomes, I'm leaning towards Philly. I'm going to sit tight, and I probably won't lay anything on this game until Saturday or Saturday night to see if this line comes back. And what I'm hoping for is I'm hoping for Kansas City wide receivers to be in and healthy and practicing, and I think this will drive the line back towards Kansas City. So I'm going to sit tight right now. I do like Philly, but the one thing that really is just makes me sick is the public. The public is 1-1 last the championship games. They were 1-1. They were on Philly and they were on Cincinnati, and Philly covered. Cincinnati obviously did not. But the public is 70% right now on Philadelphia with 52% of the over. Oh, man. I like Philly in this game for all the reasons that I mentioned, but boy, I just do not like being on the side of the public, especially in the Super Bowl with that much money on this game. I read that there's also going to be a record number of people betting on this football game now, especially with all the states that have added electronic gambling. This will be the highest bet Super Bowl of all time and almost double what it was last year. So there's a lot of action and stuff to be had in this game as people are trying, finding out about sports betting and sports handicapping. But like I said, I'm going to sit tight on this one until the end of the week and see where this line moves, and hopefully it'll move in Kansas City's favor where I can come back on Philly. But that 70% of Philly, the public on Philly, just really has me nervous about this football game.
Crazy amount of money that's being bet on this Super Bowl, obviously, as the country shifts its opinion about legalized sports betting, and it becomes more in favor in a number of states. Billions of dollars will be bet on the Super Bowl, and we haven't even gotten to the peak activity in the final 24 hours before the Super Bowl. That's when more money will be bet than almost any other time in the entire year. Obviously, that goes with World Cups and March Madness and everything else. So a ton of money is going to be bet. So to Adam's point, this is an early line betting show. We are taking our bets off of the information we have now, but definitely watch the line movement over the next few days, especially as we get closer to kickoff. Line movement, the amount of money that's going to come down, both in volume, but also in sharp money. You want to be really smart about how you place your bets. Watch those lines, take care of opportunities when they come out. That said, the Butt Fumble Sports pick for this one is Philadelphia on the money line. I do have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. For me, it's about the better defense usually wins. Unlike the NBA, where usually the superstar wins, in the NFL, it's usually the better defense. The Eagles have the better defense. They have the better roster. They don't have the better quarterback, and they don't have the better head coach. So just like Adam, there's a part of me that has to swallow this a little bit because I don't feel great about it betting against Patrick Mahomes. But the Eagles are the better defense. They're the better roster. And for that reason, I do like Eagles on the money line. However, because betting against Patrick Mahomes is spitting into the wind, I am going to bet the Chiefs +3 after I buy a 1.5. Just like Adam, I'm waiting to see how the public money shifts the trends and shifts the spread. I want to try and get the Chiefs at 4 or 4.5 if that were ever possible. Thus far, it hasn't been. But I do like Chiefs +3 right now. It's going to be a tight game between these two. So I want to find a way to get Patrick Mahomes. 3 is as good as I can get right now, so I'll take it. And as for the total, I love the under in this one. I'm going to buy the 1.5 like Butt Fumble Sports always does. But under 52.5 is definitely my favorite play of this game. 13 Super Bowls have had an over-under of 50 points or more. In those 13 Super Bowls, the under is 9, 3, and 1. These are two teams that I don't think are going to score the kind of points that are being projected. I think the Eagles defense will play a little bit better than people think. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs defense actually plays a little bit better than people think. So I love the under in this one. That's definitely my favorite bet of this game. But once again, the Butt Fumble Sports pick of the game is Philadelphia on the money line, Kansas City to cover after you buy a 1.5, and the under after you buy a 1.5. Blease, what's your take on this game? Who do you have winning the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and Eagles?
Yeah, I love your play of the under. I really think it's going to be under too. I guess the only thing that would make me nervous is Sirianni being braggadocio and maybe like laying it on if he's scoring at will on that offense. But I do like them running the ball. I think they're going to try to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands and just run it down their throat. And I don't see Kansas City really stopping that. I was begging the Bengals to run a lot more. I feel like that defense, you can run on them a lot more and run right at Chris Jones, and don't let Chris Jones, wind up against Jalen Hurts. Because I just, something about Jalen Hurts, maybe Sirianni's got his confidence and a little bit of swagger in him, but I've just felt like even in college, like he just looked like uncomfortable in those big games and just didn't look like he could be himself. And like I don't know, he's the wild card for me. It's like, is he gonna show up in this game and like make those big plays? Because like you're saying, Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback, and it's like if Hurts is put in that position where he's got to be like making all these throws, like can he live up to the moment? So I guess that's why I'm nervous, but that's why I love the under, because I really do think these defenses are slept on because of how good their offenses are. But I really do like the under, and I like the Eagles to win. I I don't know if they I don't know if Chiefs cover. Like it's so tough. Adam was saying, like this, it's hard to put your finger on this game because it feels like it can go in so many different directions.
One thing I'll definitely say, if you have an inclination or a certain lean towards one team, bet that team's quarterback to win the MVP. If you're feeling like the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl, bet Jalen Hurts to win the MVP. If you feel like the Chiefs are going to win it, bet Patrick Mahomes to win the MVP. Double down on that bet, because the chances that the quarterback wins the MVP in this one, to me, is at 99.9%, for reasons that are both political, as well as these two teams will their success will be defined by their quarterback. So I feel very confident about that. For that reason, I do like Jalen Hurts as a Super Bowl MVP pick, because as I mentioned a moment ago, the Butt Fumble Sports pick for this game is Eagles on the money line. So I am taking Jalen Hurts at plus 115 for Super Bowl MVP. For me, it's about which quarterback do I like more in terms of their team. Eagles win. I like Jalen Hurts. But much like Blease and Adam have spoken to, it's tough to bet against the Eagles not to cover at 1.5. It's tough to bet against Patrick Mahomes. This is definitely one of those moments where if you're not inclined to buy the 1.5 or buy points where you can, I highly recommend it for this game. It will benefit you ultimately, so definitely something you want to consider. One more time, if you want to get all of our picks all in one place, make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com. Sign up for the free newsletter. That newsletter comes out Friday morning with all of our game picks, total plays, player prop bets, all in one place, as well as the game notes and gambling trends to go with it. So whether you want to tail us or you want to fade us, you have all the information. We do the research for you so you can make smart decisions and cash tickets come Super Bowl Sunday. Now we're going to transition and get into some fun prop bets, random prop bets for the Super Bowl. This will be a bit more rapid fire with Adam, Blease, and myself. So guys, we're going to do a rapid fire of prop bets, some random prop bets for the Super Bowl. The first one, of course, something that's got maybe even $1 billion on it, believe it or not, and that's the result of the coin toss. Heads is minus 105, tails minus 105. Adam, which coin side will be facing up when we flip it on Sunday?
I already got action on it, and I went with heads.
Tails, I love that.
It's a tails never fails, but I'm going with heads on that one. I already got ticket put in already.
I love that play, Adam. I'm the same way. I've been told in the past that the coin is weighted differently on the two sides because it's a unique logo coin. And I've heard that the heads is actually weighted more, and so it's more likely to actually flip up. Whether that's really true or not, that's some rumors through the grapevine. Blease, are you going heads? You going tails?
I'm going heads. Heads.
Clean sweep on heads. So that's our first random play, our random prop bet for the Super Bowl. Our second one for you guys to rattle off quickly. How long will it take for Chris Stapleton to sing the national anthem? The over-under is set at 2 minutes and 7 seconds. The over is getting minus 160. The under is getting plus 120. We'll start with Blease this time. Blease, Chris Stapleton, over-under 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Are you going over or under?
Over. I think he's going to savor every single second being the center of attention. I think it definitely goes over, way over.
Adam, over under 2 minutes, 7 seconds for Chris Stapleton to sing the national anthem.
See, I'm opposite with Blease on this one. I'm a country boy. I listen to a lot of country music. And Chris Stapleton isn't going to carry out the final note for 10 seconds like, some of these other singers have done, or R&B singers. So I think he's a country boy. He's going to get up there straight to the point, and I'm going to go under 207.
Wow, Adam, you really have me questioning it now, because I love the angle of country singer. He's going to be a bit tighter. He's not going to R&B his way out. He's not going to falsetto it. He's just going to be tight and to the point. However, I am going to take the over. Usually when you see these things come out and the over is getting like minus 160, you feel like there's someone in the production truck or someone who's seen a test run who kind of knows something. I usually like that if it's minus 115 on both sides. that's where I'm feeling differently. But the fact that the over is getting so much love, maybe it's just public money hoping for it. But I am going to lean slightly towards the over. Maybe he just gives it an extra, USA love at the very end. But I will take the over on that. Our next random prop bet is the color of liquid that will be poured, whatever the substance. It could be water, it can be Gatorade, but the color of the fluid that will be poured on the winning coach of the Super Bowl. Blue is getting plus 500. Orange is right now the favorite at minus 110. Lime, green, yellow is getting plus 210. Red is getting 850. Purple is getting 800. And clear or water is getting plus 1200. So one more time, the favorite in this one for the color that'll be poured on the head coach after the win, orange at minus 110. Adam, how are you feeling about this one?
I feel like the most popular Gatorade flavor is red, right? Isn't that the OG Gatorade flavor is red? I know the orange and like lemon lime was the first one with the Gatorade, and all that stuff started. But I feel like red's the most popular flavor. So if I'm going to get, what did you say, plus 650 at red? I'll jump on that.
Red is plus 800. Plus 850 rather. Plus 850.
Yep, I'll go with red.
Okay, I like it. Blease, which color Gatorade or water is going to be poured on either head coach?
I will go with blue. I would say purple, but blue is the closest to that. So blue.
I hate to be that, rain on the parade, just like I was with the national anthem overplay, but I like orange on this one. And part of the reason I do like orange is clearly someone's gotten some film. Clearly these two teams have a tendency towards orange, especially, I believe, the Kansas City Chiefs. So while they might not be the team I think that's going to win the Super Bowl, the likelihood that is the color feels pretty strong to me. So I'm going to go with the favorite. I'm going to go with minus 110. I'll be that person who doesn't get the better odds but feels better about it. I'm going to trust the research that's been done. And our last random prop bet before we shift to another segment, who will be shown first during the America the Beautiful during the broadcast? Again, who will be shown first during America the Beautiful during the broadcast? Chiefs player or staff minus 150. Eagles player or staff plus 115. I'll take this one first. It seems pretty obvious. You got to start with the away team. You got to start with Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes, no doubt. So I'm going to take the Chiefs at minus 150. Adam, do you disagree?
Took the words right out of my mouth. Andy Reid. Yep, minus 150. I'm right with you on this one.
Blease, going with me, or are you going to go with the Eagles?
I was going to say the Eagles, where the Constitution was signed. So that's where I'm going.
Oh, Blease is bringing up some history. I like it. And this is Fox, so you never know. There could be some great patriotism. Okay, we're going to play a fun now. We're going to play a fun segment. We're going to go through some of the topics that are unrelated to the Super Bowl. And this is a game called Run or Pass. I'm going to put out the topic. If you want to talk about this topic, you say, I'm going to run with it. You give a couple sentences on it. If you say pass, we're just going to skip you and go to the next guy. So again, I'll put out a topic. Run or pass. Run if you want to take it. Pass if you don't want to talk about it. We're going to start Kellen Moore joining the Los Angeles Chargers. Adam, is this a run or pass for you?
Yeah, it's a run for me. I think this is a good situation for Kellen Moore to be in. I think Staley was smart bringing him in to work with, Justin Herbert over there. I think he was kind of a scapegoat in Dallas. I mean, they were just talking about him 2 weeks prior to the loss in Dallas of interviewing for the Carolina head coaching job. So I think this is a good transition for Kellen Moore. Get out from under the star, get out from Jerry World, and he's got a top-tier talent in Justin Herbert to work with. So I think it's a home run for Kellen Moore and the Chargers.
Okay, Blease, topic number 2, run or pass. Mike McCarthy now being the Cowboys play caller. Is that a topic you want to run with, or are you passing on it?
Since the Cowboys beat my Bucs or Tom Brady, I wish the worst for them. So just anything bad, and I think Mike McCarthy calling the plays is a bad thing for the Cowboys. So I love that for them. I hope the worst for them.
Yeah, Blease showing love to Cowboy fans everywhere. To the topic number 3, a run pass to myself. DeMeco Ryans being named head coach of the Texans. I'm going to run with this. I love this story. The Texans, they've got a bad history around them when it comes to racism. I'm so happy to see them not only hire a fan favorite, a former player in DeMeco Ryans, But again, an African-American head coach, I think it's really good for the franchise. I think it's good for the NFL. And he is an outstanding leader. You saw with that 49ers defense. Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. That defense was all D'Amico Ryans. Brilliant job what he did with the linebackers. I think he can do a number of things with this Texans team, with their cap space, the draft capital that they have. This team can be built over the next 3 to 4 years to be a contender. They got to get the right quarterback in there, but I love D'Amico Ryans as a hire. The Houston Texans got it right. Okay, runner pass topic number 4. This one goes to Adam. Adam, Sean Payton joining the Denver Broncos. Is that a runner pass for you?
I think it's a run, and the reason I say that is because Sean Payton does have a track record, and right now Denver needs a head coach with a track record. They invested all that draft capital and money into Russell Wilson, and they need to get sorted out. They have a top 5 defense that they need to keep on the field. Another coordinator had just recently left, but I think it's a home run hire for Denver. They needed to give up the extra pick to get him over there, but they have way too much invested in Russell Wilson on this football team right now. They need a coach with a proven track record.
Blease, we'll go to the next topic with you, and this is one that I'm sure is close to your heart. Topic number 5 in runner pass. Tom Brady was joined by Bill Belichick on Tom Brady's podcast yesterday. Bill Belichick and Brady showed a lot of love to each other. Is this a topic you want to run with, or are you passing it because you're over the Patriots and their past?
No, I think that's great. And, I know that it was probably tough, in those years. And like a lot of other players have reported, like there's no fun in that locker room. Like it's all business. And I think at the end of the day, they both wanted to win. And I thought they complemented each other better than any other like player coach duo. And is it going to be all rainbows and butterflies? Like, no, it's not. Like you're in the trenches when it's football. And at the end of the day, I think they have a huge respect for each other. And I really love the dynamic. And like people want them to be all rosy. Like that is not a player coach dynamic that you want to win championship. Like that doesn't win championships of being best friends. Like, no, you got a job to do. And no matter what, it's like, I think you said it about Josh Allen. Like you wanted him to be fired up. Like when Tom Brady's down, like when you look back at that 28-3 and you look at him yelling at that offense, like tighten up, guys. Like you don't want him being nice. You don't want him with his head down. You want that fire. You want that competitor. And I think they're both competitors. And sometimes that makes you compete with other people on your team, but that brings out the best of you. So I really like that.
Last runner pass topic, and it goes to me. Brian Flores being hired as defensive coordinator for the Vikings. I'm going to run with this one, but not for reasons that have to do with race. We've talked enough about that when it comes to Brian Flores. This guy is a really good defensive coordinator. He's a good defensive coach, and the Minnesota Vikings are desperate for good defense. It's the reason that they ultimately got knocked out of the playoffs. I know Kirk Cousins gets dumped on sometimes for his primetime performances, but Kevin O'Connell, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, that's a great offense in Minnesota, an atrocious defense. Brian Flores will do a lot for that team. I think it's a great hire by the Vikings. He absolutely should be able to turn that Vikings defense around, at least make it better over next year. Okay, our last topic of the show. This is going to be another rapid fire segment. Last topic of the show, or last segment rather. This is Call It in the Air. I'm going to put out a question mark or a question. Adam, you go first. Blease goes second. I go third. Again, rapid fire. Here are our Call It in the Air questions. Adam, we start with you. Where does Aaron Rodgers play in 2023?
New York Jets or Las Vegas Raiders?
Blease, where does Aaron Rodgers play in 2023?
Yeah, I got to say Jets. I love him on the Jets.
While I love him on the Jets, I'm going to also say the Las Vegas Raiders, like Adam, feel like it's trending in that direction. I'll take the first one on this one. Where does Derek Carr play in 2023? Well, I think Rodgers goes to Vegas. I'm going to say Derek Carr plays for the New York Jets. Adam, what do you think?
Oddly enough, for some reason, I think he's going to end up in Tennessee.
Like it. Blease, what are your thoughts? Derek Carr.
I was thinking AFC South too, but I'm thinking the Colts. I just think it fits for their narrative.
Love it. Okay, Blease, we're going to start with you on this one. Where does Jimmy G play in 2023?
Oh, that is tough. Um, who wants him? He could be one for the Colts too. Colts or Titans.
Adam, where does Jimmy G play in 2023?
Yeah, I'm pleased to think the Colts. I think a sneaky play here could be Miami.
I'm going to go with another sneaky play. Look out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I could see the Buccaneers making a move on him. Okay, next rapid fire question. Who is the starting quarterback of the 49ers to start the 2023 season? Adam, I'll start with you.
I believe Brock Purdy. I don't think Lance is ready. I don't think he was ready to start this year. So I'm going to think Purdy's going to win that in camp.
Blease, who is the starting quarterback of the 49ers to start 2023?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good competition, and I think that's gonna ultimately help the 49ers because you have two, mediocre quarterbacks battling it out. So it's gonna bring out the best. And I think, given the health of Trey Lance, I think it'll be Purdy.
Okay, and our last call it in the air rapid fire question. Name one thing Tom Brady will do during the 2023 NFL season. Again, that's name one thing Tom Brady will do during the 2023 NFL regular season. What I will say is, I think he's going to join Eli and Peyton for one of those Manning casts. I think he'll do it for more than just a segment. I wouldn't be surprised if it's his way of maybe getting some prep in the booth, some extra experience, especially doing it with a buddy like Peyton Manning. So that's one thing I think Tom Brady will do during the 2023 NFL regular season. Adam, what's your one thing for Tom Brady?
Yeah, kind of to start off of that, I think you're 100% correct. I think he's going to be all in, studying, watching every bit of commentary he can. Like, we know Tom Brady, he's all in, and there's no one that's going to out-prepare him. So I think he's going to spend this entire year just completely preparing himself for his opportunity in 2024.
And Blease, what do you think your guy Tom Brady is going to be doing? Give me at least one thing during the 2023 NFL regular season.
He and Gronk are gonna have some great segments together, and I hope they call a game together.
By the way, that actually would be a cool mega cast, is a Tom Brady Gronk, maybe throw in Edelman. That's a good one. I like what Blease is thinking. Some sports media executives need to look into that one. Well, that is the Butt Fumble Sports weekly NFL show for you. Make sure you follow us on all of our channels at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. And again, make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com. Sign up for our free newsletter. It comes out every week. You get all of our picks all in one place, as well as the game notes and gambling trends to go with it. So whether you want to tail us or fade us, you've got the research to cash some tickets. Appreciate all of you joining us. I want to give a big shout out to our contributors as always. Adam, that's at Spotter AJ on Twitter. Adam, what are your thoughts as we close out the show?
Real quick, player props. I have a couple of my favorite player props written down, but between you and Bleach, there's any player props that you really like for this game?
So I do have one more player prop or two rather, I'd like to give out. One is Isaiah Pacheco over 47.5 rushing yards. I love that play. And I'll actually go in the other direction. I like Miles Sanders under 60.5 total rushing yards. Blease, do you have a player prop bet?
I like over sacks. I think there's going to be a lot of sacks or a pick six, maybe a Slayton pick. I like that.
Adam, hit us with your player prop bets.
So a little bit to your point there about Sanders is the under. Two player prop bets I absolutely love in this game is Kenneth Gainwell. They've been working him in the last couple of weeks, and I think these numbers on him are way too low. It opened at 16.5, his over under rushing yards up to 18.5. I might ladder that one all the way up to 30 or 40 rushing yards. Over the last 3 games, he's had 14 carries for 48, 12 for 112, and 5 for 35. And the other one also with Gainwell is over rushing attempts at 4.5. Like I just mentioned, he had 14, 12, and 5 carries the last 3 games. And I think Gainwell is actually going to be the breaking of the tendency of Philadelphia in this game. And I think he's actually going to be utilized quite often, to your point about Sanders being under rushing yards. So I think Gainwell is a really good play in this game.
Again, make sure you're following Adam. That's at Spotter AJ. Adam, you do a brilliant job for us. Make sure you're following him. And of course, Blease at BLEACENFT. Blease does a brilliant job behind the scenes and contributing some NFL knowledge to tonight's show. Again, make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Sign up for that free newsletter on our website, buttfumblesports.com. Free newsletter comes out every Friday morning. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you engage with us across our channels. We love to hear from the fans. We're going to be putting out a lot of content in the coming days around the NFL, around the Super Bowl, and elsewhere. So make sure you're following us. Look forward to talking to you, and good luck on Super Bowl Sunday cashing your tickets.